The Detroit Lions are a humble football team. Growing up in church and also, being a pastor, I've come across a lot of scriptures. And one in particular that I've had kind of issues with is coming from Matthew chapter 5, verse 5. And Jesus is teaching on what they call the Sermon on the Mount. He's got a whole lot of stuff he's saying. And one in particular that I was like, yeah. And it says this from Matthew chapter 5, verse 5. That God blesses those who are humble, for they will inherit the whole earth. And the problem that I've had is the word humble. And I've kind of associated that word for being weak and being small and being taken advantage of. It used to be the meek shall inherit the earth. It's like, I don't want to be meek. I don't want to be taken advantage of. I don't want to be weak. I don't want to be small. I don't want to have anything to do with that. I want to be strong and be able to voice my opinions and, I'm not forceful. It's not really, I don't want to say forceful, but, I want to be strong. I don't want to be weak. And so I've always associated that word with that humbleness. And so, when Jesus preaches and teaches, we got to pay attention. And he says, humble will inherit the earth. It's like, I don't know how that happens. How's a weak person to be able to inherit the whole earth? But then I began to kind of do some deep digging. And here's a definition about being humble. It said, humbleness, also known as humility, refers to the quality of being modest, unpretentious, and respectful. It involves having a realistic understanding of one's abilities, achievements, and limitations without arrogance or excessive pride. A humble person acknowledges the value of others, is open to learning, and often prioritizes others' needs over self-importance. So I'm like, oh, this is a different definition, especially when it talks about that humbleness is realizing your own limitations, your own strengths, your own value, and being just who you are, to a point where it has another translation in the Message. It says this, and I'm kind of like, oh, okay. It says, you're blessed when you're content with just who you are. No more, no less. That's the moment you find yourselves proud owners of everything that can't be bought. I'm like, wow, that's huge. So when I think about the Detroit Lions, and last night they had a Thursday night game on Prime Video, where it was an awesome game. It was the Detroit Lions against the Green Bay Packers, and Detroit won 34-31. But there was a point in the game with 43 seconds left that Detroit was driving, and they decided to go on a 4th and 2 in the Packers territory. So in football terms, you don't understand what that means, is that Detroit Lions were very, very close to scoring a touchdown, and it was 4th down. And typically, in traditional old school football, which I'm used to, when it's a 4th down and you are close to the person's end zone, you just kick a field goal. And then, you kick it off, hope that your defense can hold them and so forth. There's not a lot of time left and so forth. But they decided that on the 20-yard line near the Packers, that they decided to go on a 4th and 2. And so they succeeded and they got it, and they were able to drain the clock and be able to kick the game-winning field goal to win 34-31. Now Detroit is 12-1. Packers are still in there. They're 9-4. But that just talks about Detroit and being who they are. Because when Dan Campbell, the head coach, when he took over in 2021, he said, I'm giving you all identity of what this team is about. And this is what he says.
This team's going to be built on, we're going to kick you in the teeth. All right. And when you punch us back, we're going to smile at you. And when you knock us down, we're going to get up. And on the way up, we're going to bite a kneecap off. All right. And we're going to stand up. And then it's going to take 2 more shots to knock us down. All right. And on the way up, we're going to take your other kneecap and we're going to get up. And then it's going to take 3 shots to get us down. And when we do, we're going to take another hunk out of you. Before long, we're going to be the last one standing.
So if you've watched Detroit Lions play this year, even last year, because this is the consecutive year they've got a playoff spot now. They're 12-1, awesome team, but they are resilient and they don't give up. During one of the games this year, the quarterback Jared Goff threw 5 interceptions in one game, and they still came back and won. This team does not give up. There was some interviews several years ago, players, they were just crying how hard they wanted to play and play for their coach and play for the city of Detroit and so forth. This team is resilient, and you know who they are, which is a true definition of when we talk about humbleness. This is who Detroit is. This is what you're going to get every single week. Even when you watch, whenever you play, they are a very humble team. And so when we think about ourselves and our lives, how can we take this? You know, whoever you are, that's who God made you. And your personality, your desires, your strengths, even your weaknesses, all these things that God has made who you are. Now, this doesn't leave room for sin. You know, don't go and start killing people. Don't start cheating and stealing and doing all this stuff. No, there's no room for that. That's crazy. But God has made you who you are, and for you today to be able to own that. God doesn't want you to be somebody else. God doesn't want you to act like someone else. We have Detroit Lions. Detroit Lions, who they are, and we celebrate that. They don't play like the Green Bay Packers. They don't play like the Miami Dolphins. They don't play like the Cincinnati Bengals. They don't play like the Buffalo Bills or the Kansas City Chiefs. Detroit is Detroit, and that's what you're going to get. And you are who you are. God created you for who you are in order for you to glorify him. And that's when you talk about when Jesus' teaching is correct, you know, and he talks about, so blessed are those who humble. Because once you get a sense of who you are, and you ain't trying to be like somebody else. It's like you inherit the whole earth. There's nothing that's impossible for you. Yeah, there's limit. You knowing your limitations and you knowing your strength, man, that's a powerful thing. So you know, like, I can't do these things, but I could do these things well. You know, I could do 4 things really well, and there might be 25 I can't, but these 4 things I could just straight up crush. So today, own who you are. Celebrate what God has created. God created you to do great things for today. So thank God for the Detroit Lions. Thank God for the whole NFL. Thank God for you, for God created you to be who you are. Now remember, to be love and to be inspiration and to be encouragement for all those around you. And we will see you soon.